welcome to the video. So Samsung recently released a trio of smartphones, and they also dropped a trio of tablets, and quite honestly, every product in every line looks really good. Today, we are talking about the regular Galaxy S22, which quite honestly is a phone that just does everything really well. I really like this phone. So let's get into it. Let's talk Galaxy S22. When I first took this phone out of the box, the first thought that came into my head was, this phone feels and looks a lot like the Galaxy S21. Now, of course, it has all of the goodies that the S21 came with, right? Your wireless charging, reverse wireless charging, and your IP68 water and dust resistance rating. And to be fair, the S22 does have a fair amount of differences between the S21, but I wouldn't blame you if you looked at the S22 and confused it for last year's model. Now, one of the big differences is going to be the fact that the S22 has Gorilla Glass Victus on the back. But when you're holding the phone, I mean, it feels great. The ergonomics on the S22 are insanely good. I remember taking it out of the box and thinking to myself, damn, this phone feels really nice just holding it, let alone actually using the phone. Now, I think that in-hand feel is due to a couple of reasons. The phone does feel slightly thicker, and the display is slightly smaller than last year's S21. And it's easy to sit here and just talk about all the individual pieces, but ultimately what it leads to is a phone that feels excellent in the hand and is just a pleasure to use. Now, while the display is smaller, the quality is, surprise, surprise, excellent. And when I say smaller, it's marginal, 6.1 inches on the S22 versus 6.2 on the S21. But that slightly smaller screen size actually leads to the fact that the phone feels so good in the hand, and also the fact that one-handed use on this phone is actually really doable, and it feels really refreshing considering I'm coming from phones like the 13 Pro Max, the Google Pixel 6 Pro, the Galaxy Z Fold 3, just smartphones that have massive displays. Now, while I was using this phone, I remember thinking at some point in time that 6.1 inches is probably the limit in terms of how compact a smartphone screen should be. And I know it's wild. We live in a day and age that 6.1 inches would be considered compact on a smartphone display. But backtrack with me for a second, because I want to touch a little bit more on the quality. It's excellent. You get 120 hertz refresh rate, the super fast, super accurate ultrasonic fingerprint sensor, and you get 1300 nits peak max brightness, which means that even when you're outside in sunlight, you're going to have no problem seeing the content on your screen. I love this display, and one thing that might shock you, and it shocked me as well, is that it comes in at 1080p resolution. And I never thought to myself while I was using it, this is a display with a 1080p resolution. The only thing I kept thinking was, this is just an excellent smartphone display. So we know that the phone feels really good in the hand, and we know that the display is excellent. And I'm also really happy to tell you that the performance is excellent too. Now, there are a couple of different factors that are working together here in order to lead to that performance experience. And on one hand, we have the Snapdragon 8 Gen 1 4nm processor. It's fantastic. On the other end, we have Android 12 out of the box with One UI 4.1, which is also great software. We have 8 gigs of RAM, which I think is perfect for a 2022 flagship Android phone, and it's also perfect for multitasking. And we also have Samsung doing a great job of delivering monthly security patch updates on some of their newer smartphones. I mean, there have been times where I've gotten a security patch on my Galaxy Z Fold 3 faster than I've gotten on my Pixel 6 or my Pixel 6 Pro. And that's not to say that the Pixel 6 has a bad software experience, but it just goes to show you that Samsung has been working hard to get security patches out for their latest and greatest smartphones. Now, all of these things combine to lead to the type of smartphone experience where there were multiple times throughout my testing period with this phone that I was using it for some time, and then I would set it down on a desk and almost forget that I was using it a few seconds beforehand because everything just works really well. It's the type of experience that it's just seamless, and it's so seamless that you could forget that you were actually using the phone, which is a good thing. Hopefully that's coming across to you on camera. The one area of the phone that I was really curious to see during the testing period was battery life, because I looked up the specs of the entire range before they actually got delivered to me, and the S22 comes with a 3,700 milliamp hour battery. That's obviously paired to the Snapdragon 8 Gen 1, which is Qualcomm's latest, most powerful processor, so I was wondering to myself how well the S22 would perform from a battery life perspective, and I was actually surprised. There were multiple occasions where I got well over 5 hours of screen on time during my daily use, and I had absolutely no problem going through the end of a day with plenty of battery life left. Now, I will say that if you're really heavy on multitasking multiple apps, or if you're really heavy on things like 3D gaming or certain applications that are going to require constant work from the phone, like consistent GPS navigation, or maybe you're into playing games like Pokemon Go that require GPS location consistently while you're using it, and it's also just constantly keeping your screen on, then yeah, you could probably kill this phone in the course of a day. But for most folks, I think you're going to be just fine getting through the end of at least one day with this battery. Samsung also did a great job of delivering a flagship smartphone camera experience that, again, it just works. There's nothing flashy about the setup. There's no massive megapixel numbers or anything like that. It's just a really solid triple camera array. So let's talk about it real quick and talk about the quality of photos that it produces. We are looking at a 50 megapixel wide angle, a 12 megapixel ultra wide angle, and a 10 megapixel telephoto with 3 times optical zoom. Although when you're in the viewfinder, you can go up to 30x zoom. That'll be digitally though, so keep that in mind. And in terms of the pictures that you're producing, it's your typical Samsung flagship photos. They are slightly saturated and very, very vibrant. So they're not necessarily color accurate, but they're still super, super pleasing to look at. And there are a couple of examples of photos that I've taken that kind of show this. Whenever you're looking at, let's say, a pair of sneakers like the dark Marina Blue Jordan 1s, in actuality, that blue in real life is a little bit darker whenever you're looking at it in person, whereas the S22 kind of captures it slightly more vibrant and saturated. And when we look at another pair of sneakers like the Jordan 1 Patent Bread, in actuality, again, those sneakers are slightly toned down in terms of their color, but on the S22, it looks like a super saturated shiny red leather when it's more of a dark red in actuality. But hey, the photos are super pleasing to look at and they're really easy on the eyes. I've always said this about Samsung flagship smartphones when it comes to cameras and their image processing. These are the types of photos that if you have easy access to printing them, you're going to want to print these out and frame them and hang them up in your house because they're just really nice to look at. They might not necessarily be super color accurate, but at the end of the day, they're still great quality photos and they're easy on the eyes. So I'm still happy with the camera experience here. But that's the Galaxy S22. Like I said, it's just the type of smartphone experience that is really seamless all around to the point where sometimes you might even forget that you're using it. I don't know if that necessarily categorizes it as like a boring smartphone, but it's just the type of flagship phone that everything works really well on it. So I don't really blame Samsung for not making too many changes here. I mean, they made your standard refinements for one additional calendar year, and they basically left it at that because everything on the S22 works really well. Now let's talk about price. Starts at $799 for 128 gigs of storage, which in that $600 to $700 to $800 price range, you are finding some pretty stiff competition nowadays. Like you could buy obviously a phone like the Pixel 6 for a lot cheaper than $799, and depending on what you're looking for in an Android phone, the Pixel 6 may be more your type of Android smartphone. But one thing I gotta give Samsung a lot of credit for is the ridiculous types of deals that they have on their website, especially if you pre-order. So they were offering some ridiculous trade-in values for your current smartphone, and they were offering like a free storage upgrade, which is not something you see from a lot of tech companies nowadays. So $799 is not bad. If you can get it for cheaper with a trade-in or if you can get some sort of deal on it, I definitely think the smartphone is worth it. The S22 is just a great all-around phone. So if you enjoyed our review, make sure you subscribe, especially if you're new here. And you definitely want to hit subscribe because we have a lot of stuff coming, right? We have the S22 Plus coming. We have the S22 Ultra coming. And while we're here, I do have a question for you. Leave your answer in the comments if you don't mind. Would you like to see us review any of the tablets from the S8 line, the Standard, the Plus, or the Ultra? Because those kind of look amazing, and I'm thinking about getting them in studio. So if that's something you'd be interested in, let me know in the comment section. But as always, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you guys in the next video. Stay safe. Crazy times we live in. Peace.